things that are affecting men and a whole lot of other things, but obviously pertaining to men. So today I've got Joseph. On the other hand, he's my brother. Known Joseph for a few years now, and then Jonah, you can introduce yourself actually, so that
Yeah.
makes it
I'm
easier.
Joseph, basically. I do a lot of things, and one of the main thing is building people up, and really, and when I saw your videos and I saw you starting this, and I thought, wow,
Mm,
yes, I think it's much needed these days.
mm,
It's a very current, relevant topic, and I believe
yeah,
it can be hit in different angles. And I believe it's right for you to do this.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, I feel privileged that you considered me, basically, brother.
Right. So here we are. So what we're gonna do here is, we're gonna do some man-to-man talk here.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it comes to being a man, there's a whole lot of things that we can,
Hmm.
relate to in terms
Hmm.
of what affects becoming a man. Like, can be political situation, political environment, cultural environment, religion,
Hmm.
race, different orientations and different, backgrounds that can actually affect a man or
Yes.
becoming a man. So the main question that really bothered me was, what is a man and what is being a man? And that's one of the things that I ask myself, am I man enough, and different other things. But so we're just gonna open up. So I've discovered that actually it's a very, very big subject, very, very big
Yes.
subject, because being a man also involves being, you can be a brother as well at the same time. You can be a father as well at the same time. You can be a husband at the same time, or you can be a boss or a manager or whatever, and you're part of the planet Earth.
Yeah. Abs-
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
In my case, for instance, if
yeah,
I might share kind of a little bit of my testimony.
yeah,
My father left my mother. I was 6 years old.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I grew up literally, really, without a father. Uh, there was a bit
Wow.
of violence and everything, so they separated. So I grew up without a father, and my mother took care of me basically.
Yeah,
And I have only
yeah.
one sister, so
Wow.
I didn't have a father figure to look to. Okay, I didn't have
Yeah,
anybody teaching me things to do. My mom had to work, had to cover, had to do whatever it took to make me feel
yeah,
comfortable and to bring me up in the way that only she could.
yeah.
Now, and then, as you know, 19 years old, I traveled to Europe. I get here, I'm
Mm.
20 years old. I am trying to find out what is it to be a man? What is it to
Wow.
survive? And
Yeah,
French was my first language. So I
yeah,
had to learn the ABCD in 1992, so
yeah.
of English. So you can imagine, no role models, no
Mm.
father figure to look up to. It was a
Yeah,
challenge for me to answer the question, am I a man who can provide? Am I a man who can be responsible?
yeah,
Am I a man who is able to do what needs to be done in case of
yeah,
anything? And
yeah,
then obviously without mentor, without anybody, you just
yeah,
collect, you have a few friends, and what you do is
yeah,
just hook up with your friends,
yeah.
you see, and
Well, I,
then,
I like the fact that you highlighted, the fact that your
yeah,
father was absent,
yeah,
and you actually have to ask yourself, am I a man and am I being a man? Because I think people take that for granted, don't they? Like, you just grow up and then whether your father was there or not. But I really think it affects people, in a very, very big way. I watched just recently Kanye West. We all know Kanye West. I watched
yes,
Kanye West break down on a live. Um, I think I don't know what he was presenting. He broke down, like literally broke down, crying. But when he broke down, his reference was to the absence of his father. Can you
yeah,
imagine? This is someone that's got all the money that you may need in the world. He's got
yeah,
all the fame, but he's breaking down at the point when he remembers that his father was not present in
yeah.
his life. So how do you think? Obviously, you are a father now. How do you think it is important for kids to have their father in their lives? And
It's, it's,
also, what
it's
input is a
it's
father
absolutely
supposed to put?
vital, to be
Yeah,
honest. It's absolutely vital to have a father figure, It's absolutely vital to have somebody you look up to.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's, I cry, my heart melts with the
Yeah.
breakdown of family in society.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's almost like a convenience thing. People just split because of anything. People separated, and in the end, the ultimate thing about it is the breakdown of the
Mm.
society. So yes, at some point you will break down even publicly, because you can only have a self-control
Yeah.
until at some point you just explode and you let go. Because
Yeah.
we are men, not because we're strong enough. We are
Yeah.
men not because we have more money. We are
Yeah.
men not because it's just how God made us. It's not just how the creator made us. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he made us like that. It doesn't mean that we hard in heart. It doesn't mean that we strong. It's not about muscles. It's
Okay.
about something bigger that our creator had in mind. So when there's no complement between male and female in a home, in the context of a home, obviously, my brother, there are
Yeah.
exceptions. There are
Okay.
exceptions. There are people, and I thank God that, okay, in the end, I'm here, I'm talking to you, but man, yes, I do have a family. Obviously, in the
Mm.
process from 19 coming to Europe and having
Hmm.
to struggle, I made a lot of mistakes. But
Yeah.
the first thing I want to say to all the men out there, even the women who might be watching us, you
Mm-hmm.
may have made many mistakes, but you are not God's mistake.
Okay.
You might have
Right.
made
So
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 many
I
mistakes.
I
You
I
are
like
not,
the
yeah.
fact I like the fact that you mentioned the creator and God and all that. I will come back to that. But for now, what I want to know is what. So when we talk about, what do you think? You because you mentioned breakdowns. What
Yes.
do you think causes breakdowns in your own
What
point of
causes
view?
breakdown is like you feel an emptiness.
Oh, right. I like that. Emptiness,
Yeah,
like a
you,
vacuum.
you feel a vacuum, you feel an emptiness, you feel you need somebody to look up to. Now,
All right. Yeah.
thank God of our strong, some of us have a strong upbringing where you grew up. I grew up on the street where now you
All
have to
right.
try and affirm your identity, because that's one thing.
Yeah.
Everybody is looking for an identity. Everybody is looking to belong. People want to belong so they can become. You see?
Yeah.
And everybody's
Mm.
looking for that. So you look for that in your friends. So you
Yeah.
feel you belong to a group of people who are there for you, they support you, they can do all kinds of stuff with you, and then you go, yeah. Now, if they let you down, so where do you go to? You know, we have idols, pop idols, kind of idols, people that you look up to in the mainstream media in Hollywood, and
Yeah.
you try and look like them, and but then it's not sufficient because the vacuum is still there. It's not
So
really
so what so
you.
what so what then is the role of a man when he is a father? What is his role? What do you think is the man's role or the father's role in a family or whether in a
The, the,
different
the,
setup?
to become a role model,
Yeah.
basically, for you to be, it's about education. You educate. Let's say if I had my, okay, let's say I have my son. My son is 16. My daughter is
Yeah.
18. Another one is 13. My daughter
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
13. What am I
That's
doing
amazing.
with them? I am guiding them, giving them principles of life from
Mm.
life experiences. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like I made so many mistakes. Now I
Mm.
will be there to guide them in the things of life, the decisions they have to make, and
Yeah.
reassure and comfort them that I am there for them no matter what.
Yeah.
What do my children want from me? They want the assurance that I will always be there for them, that they will
Yeah.
always come to me if they have a need, and that they will
Hmm.
demonstrate their love to me as we build a relationship together.
Hmm.
So I am their best friend first. I am the first point of contact before anybody else outside.
Yeah.
So we share in everything. I share in the pain of growth, and then I have to educate them by telling them wrong from right,
Yeah.
because
So
you
so
can be
the,
you
so
be
so
you
this
become
this
mature when you're about 16 going 17, 18. That's when the
yeah,
society assume that you're getting mature.
yeah.
But
So
before
now you're
that, you need
talking
somebody
you
to help you making decisions. Go ahead.
yeah, you're talking about educating the kids, and I really want to know, obviously, like, how do you come to, you know, say this is the information that I need, and where do you get that information from, and how do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Very good. That's what I wanted
yeah.
to talk
I'm talking
about.
about the whole education package, because obviously they go to school and they have to learn other things, but then you, as a father or as a man, you have a role, to teach them, like you said. But then, how do you come up with, this education pack that you've got that you're gonna, teach to
Okay.
your kids? Yeah,
Very easy. There is what you call the mainstream education, where we send
yeah,
our children to school to learn some of the things of life. But then there's what you call practical day-to-day living of proper upbringing, which is to deal with the character.
yeah.
This is very important because it's not about having degrees. The world will give you degrees. The school system, the work system will give you skills of life. An
Hmm.
educational system will give you diplomas, certificates, and degrees and qualification. Now, you can have degrees and don't have a solid character. You can have riches and without character. So now the
Hmm.
upbringing in the house, the reason we need fathers in the house is to instill a character of integrity, a moral character. Those things
Mm.
that you cannot buy, those things that the
Hmm.
teachers, the workplaces, they don't have time to do for you. So
Yeah.
they take you in the world, they take you for qualifications, what you have learned and achieved. But at home,
Mm.
I teach you relationship. I teach you how to behave, how to respect people, how to respect
Yeah.
your parents, how to respect your future wife or your future husband. These things, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't
Hmm.
have them instilled in your youth, you
I,
will
li-
not have a
I like,
man in the
yeah,
future.
yeah. I really like the fact that you mentioned that, because I always say that, when someone passes on, you never hear people talk about, the amount of money they had or the amount of property they had. But normally it's always how kind they were, how loving they were,
Yes.
how they treated other people. And I think, because you said educating, I think most parents do that. But I think there is need to, remind each other that we have to be assertive. We have to be conscious, or have a proper consciousness, or actively, instilling these things into our kids, because I think that's very, very big. Then now, before we dwell
It's
more
massive.
on yeah,
It's
before we
massive.
dwell,
It's
yeah,
foundational. It's foundational for life. We
yeah,
we give them because we live in a society where, maybe I give this to you. Your
mhm,
resources are in your relationships.
I like that.
Now you need to learn to treat people right.
Okay,
Now out there you are selective. Depending on what somebody does to you, you treat them right. But in the
yeah,
house, we teach children to treat people equally, right? Because tomorrow, when the parents are not there, your resources are in your relationship. And trust me, brother, people
mhm,
can have millions, but nobody wants to be with them. People can have riches or anything, nobody wants to be around them. Why? Because of the way they treat others. And that
yeah,
now, nobody else has time to teach our children outside. And becoming a man is communicating those values at a foundational level. Because if you don't have a close structured family, you will not have
yeah,
a society. If you don't have a society, you don't have a city, you don't have anything. You'll have anarchy sooner or
yeah,
later.
yeah. So now, because remember, I did mention from the beginning that, obviously becoming men is affected by a whole lot of other factors, political environment, cultural environment, religion, and stuff like that. So how do you, like, for an example, you were brought up and your dad wasn't that much involved in your life.
Mhm.
How do you come up with these principles, and where do you get this education from that you can say,
Mhm.
now I can impact my kids? Because there would be a lot of people that grew up in the same setup where they didn't have a father figure
Yeah.
to input those same ideologies and education for them to pass them to the next generation. Because what I'm looking at now is, as you're talking, I realize that we are creating the next generation, if I may say.
Yeah.
So we are preparing the next generation by educating them. Where do you get those, especially if you've not been exposed to that kind of environment? How do you get about that? Because you're an adult, and some of these principles were not taught to you. And some people actually end up in prison because they didn't even have a role model. How do we, now we are adults, or you end up with kids, how do you get that information? How do you find yourself, being able to teach your kids and pass on to the next generation?
I want to confess this first. The
Yeah,
man that is talking to you
yeah,
is definitely not perfect.
yeah,
Like I said, we make many mistakes in the
yeah, yeah,
process of growth.
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
look for your identity. You
yeah,
are you make a lot of wrong decisions.
yeah.
You learn from them, and then now all of a sudden now you find yourself you have children. Now,
Yeah,
in my case particularly, since you're asking, in my case,
yeah,
I wanna set this first, this foundation, to instill morals on my children, to be a man to my children. I need to
yeah.
have a moral standard. We need to have some kind of a system in place. Okay.
All right.
Now,
Yeah, I like
to
that.
have moral standard, you have to have a moral giver. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because where do you get your moral from? Where do you get your life skills educational from? The
Yeah.
system has flaws. The
Definitely.
educational system has flaws. So,
Yeah.
for in my case, talking particularly about me, this might not apply to all the men,
Yeah.
and everybody is work in progress. If I can put
Yeah.
that disclaimer there, we are
Yeah.
all growing. Now, in my
Yeah.
case, I met my creator. I met basically in the quest of my identity. I
Yeah.
found out I was created. I am a child of God. I was created by God. And
Okay.
from there, I found out all the moral principles that are needed
Okay.
practically for this life.
Yeah.
He's a moral giver who teach me
Mm-hmm.
how to love, because being a man is not
Mm-hmm.
about muscles. Being a man is not about finance. Being a man is not about
Mm-hmm.
anything else. It's about
Yeah.
character. You see,
Okay.
EJ, when I say
Yeah.
EJ,
Yeah.
EJ is not alphabet on paper.
Yeah.
EJ, your character is backed up by your name.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say EJ, I remember 1, 2, 3. He's good. He's that. So when you hear Joseph, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Joseph, yeah, he's 1, 2, 3. He can do 1, 2, 3. So whatever makes your identity is backed
Mm-hmm.
up by
Mm-hmm.
your name.
All right.
Now,
I like
now
that.
it's hard for you to find your identity until you find your maker. This is
Okay. Explain
now
that.
Now, when you find your maker, when you know you were created, then it's like you're going back to your manual, and then you find out, oh wow. So I have even though in my case, again, I come back to my case, even though my
Yeah.
father left, I was 6. Now I
Mm-hmm.
realize I have my father in heaven.
Okay.
Now I have a father figure, because EJ, where what is the standard of moral in the world? Where do we get our moral from that we can translate to our children? Where do we copy them from? Who is a perfect person who ever lived, from whom you can download the
Yeah.
principles of life and life skills?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
So
So I had to find my identity in my creator. And when I found my identity in my creator, it was easy for me. Now I know I am loved. That's number one. I found out I am loved.
So before you go further,
Yeah.
I want you to specify that, because when you talk about the creator and when you talk about the Father in heaven, how do we come to that? Is that how do you specify that? Is that would we say that that's religion? Would we say that
Yeah.
just your belief, or would you say that's just something that you find somewhere? How do you explain that?
Basically, in 2000, what happened to me as I grew up, then
Yeah,
I came to London, and
yeah.
then you hustle, you're on the street, you're try to get on with your life and everything. Then 1, 2, 3, I met a friend of mine who got me to read the Bible, for instance. And then I started
All
reading
right.
the Bible. And then I
So
found
we're
out,
talking about the Bible.
yeah, so absolutely. So
Okay.
I found out that I am loved. I found out that I was created. I found out that
Mhm.
I am beloved, because one thing that we all somehow I was looking for, in my case, you're looking for love, you're looking to belong. Before all the attributes, you needed, one of the things that we always have is low self-esteem.
Ah,
You feel you're not adequate. You feel you don't fit in. You feel it doesn't matter what
mm,
you do. You separate from this one and then you try and belong somewhere else. So you carry
yeah,
that insufficiency, a bit of racism there knocked you a little bit, a bit of
yeah,
let down in relationship knocked you a little bit, a bit of
yeah.
denial at work or rejection. You feel rejected. Then all of a
And
sudden,
that creates fear in that, isn't it? When you're in that place.
yeah, basically you're feeling that you walk with it, but oh, I'm a man, I can handle it. I'm a man,
Yeah.
I can handle it.
Mm,
So I'm telling you, until you break down publicly like Kanye West or many of us, fortunately he's
yeah.
in the public eye, but we used to break down in the background.
Hmm.
Nobody sees us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You see, it's a serious thing. So then I found out, my brother, between you and me, I tell you the truth. There's
Yeah.
nothing better when you recognize that you are loved, that you don't have to
Wow.
be like somebody else,
Ah.
that you don't have to copy anybody else. You
So we
are
are talking
loved.
about finding your own identity
You
now on
find
this.
your own identity from
Mm.
God who
And
made
accepting
you.
your own identity.
Absolutely. Then I realized I am unique. I
Yeah.
am loved. Now
Hmm.
I don't have to impress anybody.
Ah.
Now I don't have to do anything to fit into somebody else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can now move on with the life that has been pre-planned for me, so to speak, in that sense that I am
Yeah.
a child of God. Now I know who I am. Now I know that I'm loved. I know that I belong to a family. Even though
Hmm.
my father left me, I have another father who loved me unconditionally. Now that gave me the confidence I needed to now move on with my life. Now it's easy for me as a man.
Hmm.
I found that he made me the head of the family. Now,
Yeah.
and then he says, I make you head of the family, not because you're
Hmm.
any good, not because of
Hmm.
what you have achieved,
Hmm.
because I love you. And then
Right.
I found out
So
another thing.
yeah.
Men, like I said before, is not about
Hmm.
muscles, it's not about
Hmm.
finance, it's about the
Hmm.
ability to relate, the ability to be patient, the ability to
Hmm.
love, the ability to
Wow.
go the extra mile in
Hmm.
relationship. That sets you
Wow.
apart.
I
Because
like the fact that you've twice now you've referred to love. Before you mentioned that when you feel unloved and then you're looking for that, and then there's
mhm,
this vacuum that you also mentioned, because
yes,
I can identify with that. So
yes,
that to me it exclusively means that we are creatures of love, and then at the same time the absence of love does create some kind of fear
yeah,
in us that makes us jump from A to Z,
yes.
and looking for that, something to fill in
Fear
the
and
vacuum,
insecurity. Fear and insecurity. Go ahead.
insecurity.
Yeah.
Because I've come out across the word trauma a lot of times, and what I believe trauma is, you know, when you are in a situation where you feel incomplete or where you feel unloved and you stay in that place, I believe that's what trauma is, because you're in that place where that vacuum is not filled with what's supposed to be in there. If you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
So, being love creatures, I would think that we have to first be able to love ourselves, which is what you say. When you said, you know, when you accept yourself and you don't feel judged and all that. So how do we arrive to? Because we're talking about men here.
Yeah.
If you're not able to love yourself, I don't think you're able to love other people. Love
No.
your neighbor as you love yourself. So
Yeah.
you love yourself first, then you're able to love your neighbor.
Mhm.
How do we arrive to be able to? How do we arrive to that place where we're able to love ourselves, or how do we arrive to that place where we're able to teach even our kids to love
The-
themselves? Because that's another challenge for the kids as well. Because when
yeah.
they go out to school and everywhere they go, they are also suffering from the same thing, that they want this place to be filled up with, you know, affection, you know, someone that listens to them, and they end up looking at different other angles.
Yeah.
How do we manage personally to teach ourselves to love ourselves and also to be able to on our kids, on everyone else?
I want to say I really like what you're saying there. It's
Yeah,
very powerful, especially the children as well.
yeah,
Especially when you have girls, like I have girls.
yeah,
You know, if they haven't got a father figure, trust me, they want to find out love in boys out there.
yeah,
It's just as simple as that. It's
yeah.
straightforward. It's like there's that attraction because you need that father figure. And I like what
Mm-hmm,
you talked about loving yourself.
mm-hmm.
I want to bring it in this angle. When I became a child of God, when I knew I had a creator, I found out that I am worth it. This is very
Okay,
important.
all
Now,
right.
when you found that you are worth not what people say about you, you are worth for who God says you are. Now, what
All
happened
right.
is there's an oozing of confidence that comes upon you. Now you're
Yeah,
not fearful anymore. Now you are
yeah.
confident. Now the children can see that confidence in you. Your friends can see that confidence in you. Now, because many people depend on what people say.
Mm-hmm.
People depend, and in fact, a lot of people think their identity depends on what people say about them.
Yeah,
Now, once you have that confidence, once you have that worth, once you know
yeah.
you are loved, then you can appreciate who you are.
All
Then
right.
you can truly love yourself.
Okay.
Because so far, we've been taught as men to do this and to do this, to prove this, that you can pay
Yeah.
your bills, you can bring the children up, you can do this. It's can do, can do, can do, can do. And then you
Mm-hmm.
find when you become a child of God, a Christian in my case, you find out the Father has done everything for you. Now walk in the lane that He has put you. All of a sudden, you relax. You're not stressful anymore. Now
Yeah.
that you know you are loved, it's easy for you to give love because you can't love if you don't have love in you. You can't give out what you don't have inside of you. Do you see the difference now?
Um. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you can't give to your children. It's like somebody saying you can't lead somebody where you haven't been yet.
Yeah.
So there has to be that transition whereby you notice who you are confident in your identity. Now you can now let people know that they are loved. In fact, in the Bible, it's called the royal law in James chapter 2, verse 8. It's like a royal
All
law.
right.
You shall love
Okay.
your neighbor as yourself.
Okay.
Now, you cannot love your neighbor if you don't know who you are and that you are sufficient.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's what we're talking about. So becoming a man, and then
Mm-hmm.
being there's the becoming part of the man, and then being
Yeah.
established as a man is all to do with the character. Because
Right.
We all one way or another becoming, but there will be a
Yeah.
point where you are established.
Okay.
When you establish, now that's where confidence is. Now you could now have people who will come to you for mentorship.
Yeah.
How do you manage to navigate
Yeah.
the storms of
Yeah.
life? How do you
Yeah.
manage to go from A to B? And
Yeah.
then sit down and let's talk about it.
Wow, that's very interesting. So now we've managed to cover, obviously, I mean, like I said before, this subject is just so vast. I mean,
Yes.
we can talk about, a whole lot of different things, but obviously we did touch on, raising kids and stuff like that. And one of the things that we really take for granted is like now we rely on technology and stuff. We
Yes.
rely on there are a lot of other things, we drink, obviously from a glass that was created by someone else. And I want to talk about the role of a man in society in general.
Mhm.
Like what do you think is the role of a man in society in
Mhm.
general, apart from family?
Mhm.
Just in society, because when I say society, because we have people that are in leadership positions, we have people that become presidents, people who become ministers, people who become managers, people who become business owners, and all these people, they actually are part of our society, and they play a very role just being men. How do you think, in a way, we can actually have a structure where we're able to monitor that and be able to be accountable for each other and say, listen, this is the way things should go?
Yeah. Basically, for a society to function, there has to
Mm.
be a system in place that is
Yeah,
conducive to progress, that is conducive to accommodating people without distinction, without discrimination. Okay?
yeah,
When we have leaders in place, they are not to be partial, they are there to monitor, to guard, to protect, to
yeah.
love, to care. Now,
Hmm.
the role of the man as well as the woman is to work together as one unit.
Okay.
We are to be facilitators. Basically, once what the reason why we're talking about the character, once you have the character, one of the attributes that I pray for all men to have is meekness, which is humility.
Yeah.
Humility means power under control. Now,
Okay.
what happened is what you see in society is strife, anger, bitterness, competition. Everybody wants to step on everybody else to try and make it happen. But once you
Yeah.
have the attributes, once you're a leader, you create an environment where people can come and feel that, well, first of all, they will believe you
Hmm.
because of your character. Then they want to
Hmm.
belong with you, and then they will
Hmm.
become what they believe. So they will believe let's say you have a business, you run a business. The ethos of the business must be based
Hmm.
on loving one another and being able to invest in people.
Hmm.
What do you invest in people? You invest the principles in people, because there's no way, like we said before, money is not enough. There are people who are rich, but they die alone.
Definitely.
I can use example. A lot of famous people died alone. Michael Jackson died alone. Whitney Houston died
Yeah.
alone in the bathroom. Prince died alone. It's always like that. So we can see it's not about the money. Like I said, you're talking about a society. Your
Yeah. Yeah.
resources are in your relationship. So because we are supposed to be living in association in a society, the
Yeah.
leaders, the politicians, they are there to lead the people, but all people without distinction. So for a
Okay.
society to function, there has to be rules and regulation, absolutely. But guess
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
my friend, my brother? There has
Yeah.
to be a change of heart. I'll give you the difference. The
Yeah.
laws of this, I give you an example of a speed limit,
Hmm.
for instance.
Yeah.
90% of tickets in speed limit would be men, for instance, right? they drive fast. Okay, I use it as a silly example. Now, the law says don't go over 70 miles. Let's say over 80 miles or something like that, right? So what happened? When we see the camera, we slow down instantly, right?
Yep.
And then after we drive past the camera, we accelerate again faster. Okay?
Definitely, yeah.
The laws and regulations can help us on the outward, but the character is inward. My prayer is that men have a heart change to have the ability, because what happens is not about obeying the society when people see you. It's about how you can live and educate your children and your family and love your wife when nobody sees you. You see that? When people have change of heart, then they can be profitable for other people in society.
Yeah.
But if people are bitter, self-seeking, envious, just stepping on other people's toes to make it, to survive, to be successful, quote unquote, it will always be a challenge. There will be many men, but there will be a lot of failures. Obviously, out of failures, some will succeed, but it depends, because even success is measured. Many things are measured. But we are thankful that we have a society that we can live in, and where we have people who have great creativity, invention, the mobile phone we use, the laptop we use. I'm thankful for the technology. But technology and all of that is not a replacement of human relationship.
Yeah.
Much needed.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I mean, it like I said, this is a very broad subject. You know, we've mentioned a whole lot of other things in there, but I want us to move on, so that obviously if we have another time to talk about stuff, we can do that. But I just want us to be able to try and cover a bit of ground. One thing that is very prevalent, when it comes to our day-to-day society, in relation to even those people that are in a position of power, whether financially or in politics and stuff like that. We tend
sorry,
to
speak
have
a bit louder. Can you say that again?
Right. So one thing that tends to happen, like in our society, I'm talking about society, right, in general, and people that are in position of power, and there are men in relation to what we're talking about. There's a lot of sexual abuse that comes with a lot of positions that you find that you end up hearing that this prime minister was actually having, he was actually abusing kids, or blah 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 blah, or be it a businessman, or be it someone who is a celebrity, to say. Um, what do you think really happens here, in terms of what do you think causes someone that has that kind of a position and that kind of power and that kind of money to doing things like that? Because I don't get it. Like, you have someone that is married, and they've got a wife, and they've got beautiful kids, and they've got all the money, and they've got all this power, but then they end up abusing kids or abusing other women out of their,
Power without character, corrupt.
All right.
It's absolutely a formula. Find somebody who's powerful.
Yeah.
Find somebody who's powerful who has no character. Power corrupts. And it's just a fact. It's not even something that we can argue upon. When you have too much money, what do you do now? You have people serving you. Everybody submit to you. So you feel you have what? Power.
You're in charge.
You're in charge.
Anything that you want. You're king.
Absolutely. Now you are king with servants. Now it's like giving a Ferrari, a powerful car, to a 13-year-old because you love him so much, and he does video games and he wants a Ferrari. It's too much power for a 13-year-old. He will kill him and kill many people. So what happened, and this is what I was saying, it's so powerful what you're saying. So I can answer it quickly within in a minute in two aspects,
Yeah,
two angles.
yeah,
The first
yeah.
angle is a natural human understanding angle. You
Okay.
you you brought up in the mentality of the world in terms of go for it. Blessed are those who push it harder, work hard, get it, and once you get it, then you'll be happy. Then now
Yeah,
they do it and they achieve their dreams. They become general managers of a big petrol company. Okay, now they
yeah,
have arrived. Now they have money. They have a lot of money, so they can buy anything they want. So they begin to buy people as well, because that's what happened. You begin to buy
yeah,
people. You begin to have people serving you, and out of the people who serve you, because you haven't got a good heart, you haven't got a good attitude. It's just one thing. The next minute you want to abuse. What happened? Because power corrupt. So what happened? Do you want money? Do you want more money? Okay, do this for me and
hmm
do that for me. The more you see people submitting to you, the
hmm
more you feel you have power over them. Now, it can happen to a manager in a lower level or president at the highest level.
hmm
That's what we're finding out many years later, the abuse, sexual abuse that has happened.
Right.
You see,
So
my brother, we live
I'm
in a
glad that.
fallen world. We live in a
hmm
fallen world. Man is fallen.
hmm
Man, to become a man, he needs to find a standard of manhood. What does it
mm
mean to be a man? To be a
hmm
man is to have a character of integrity, a character of humility, and being a man who is able to love
hmm
unconditionally, who is able to do, to respect and to value other people. Remember
Yeah,
what I said before. Once I found out that I am valued, that I am worth it, all of
yeah,
a sudden I cease to strive. I start
yeah,
accepting people for who they are without judging them, without criticizing them, and I start loving people because I saw the value in them.
yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
if there's no that standard in society, sooner or later, we're always going to find out children being abused in families because there's no
hmm
role model. Power that
I,
corrupts because there's no role model. Yeah.
I like that part you say. You're talking about role models there because I was I think just yesterday. Yeah, I don't remember now. Sorry.
Mhm.
Should be yesterday. I think the day before yesterday. I was on a live radio station thing. We're talking about different other things as well. We're talking about cheating and infidelity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one thing that we did talk about there because I'm not going to another subject.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna talk because but they're all related because we're talking about men that abuse other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously we end up with people that become pedophiles or womanizers or whatever you can call them. But then the subject, the main subject here is sex. Um, I've had a lot of reflection when it came to that. Yeah, when it comes to that, because you will find that uh, abroad, like on a broader scale, we are sexual beings,
Yeah.
and sex education, from my point of view, is supposed to come from a family.
Yeah.
So you've got kids yourself. I think it is your responsibility to teach your kids about sex.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to learn about sex from TV, if they're going to learn about sex from pornography, if they're going to learn about sex from anywhere else, I don't think those platforms are the right platforms for your kids to learn about sex, because
No.
it's going to be a big, big part of their life.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that end up in those situations, because I've got a bit of psychology background and stuff like that, you
Yeah.
will find that people that end up being trapped in that kind of cycle, most of the time they would have been introduced to sex in a whole lot of different ways. They would have been trapped in situations where they now have that as a mindset or as a way of life, and they cannot change it. So how do we, as men, um, obviously, because some of us, we actually learned about sex in a very wrong way,
Yeah.
and it affects us because because when you learn about sex from pornography and stuff like that, you have that imprinted.
It's a twisted way.
Yeah, you have that imprinted on your mind, and that becomes your way of looking at things. And it's not easy to get rid of that. How do we, as men, obviously, from that point of view, as men, renew that kind of mindset? How do we, you know, offload that kind of, whether you are in a,
Did you get any answer for that question? Did you
no, no,
get
no,
any
no, no.
approach answer to that question?
I'm not gonna talk about the answers because I'm asking you now.
Hmm.
In this case.
No, no,
I'm
no,
asking you.
because this, I
Yeah,
like the question, because
yeah,
now, where in the world can we get a mindset that is clean enough,
mm,
that is that will
yeah,
help you and change your mind? Who is a
mhm,
role model will help you? Can psychology help you? Can what can help you? Where do you get that mind from? Where do you get the behavior from? This is what we're talking about. So I come
yeah,
back to my thing. In Romans chapter 1, it says men have suppressed the knowledge of their creator. They have suppressed the knowledge of God.
yeah,
You cannot get a clean mindset in the world. The people who are
all right,
behind the industry of pornography and
mm-hmm,
sex education and all of that, they're the same people who give money to charities. They're the same people who do good in the world. They're the same people who do
mm-hmm,
all kinds of stuff because they
yeah,
have to
yeah,
appease their
yeah,
conscience. So, and that's
ah,
why for me, except men have a change of heart where they can come to know their creator, who will now change their, because you talked about the mind. I love that. I love the
mm-hmm,
question, by the way, because
mm-hmm,
I believe on a Christian perspective, when I go
mm-hmm,
back to my manual of the maker, how he made me, like I said to
yeah,
you, because of the values now that that are instilled in me, I can
yeah,
now easily see that, okay, we have a perfect man who lived, the God
okay,
man, Jesus Christ.
okay,
Nobody can blame him for anything. Now he
mm-hmm,
said, follow me. He said, live like I live. He said, do what I do. What's his principal roles? The two commandments he gave us: love God with all your heart, with all your mind, all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Why do I
okay,
go back to that?
yeah,
All sin, all defect is lack of
mm-hmm,
love. Put it
all
this way.
right, I like that. I
Absolutely.
like that.
Anything we do is because we don't care. And we don't care because we don't love. And we don't love because,
Ah,
watch this. We Everything we do wrong is because we don't
mm-hmm,
care. What do I mean we don't care? Because we don't love. What do I mean we don't love? Because we don't have love. So we don't have love because we don't have the standard of love. You see?
so are you
Now,
saying now? So
now,
are you
watch this.
saying now?
Now,
Yeah,
watch this. If I
yeah,
love, I don't need to steal, because you talked about the pedophile. I can tell you about the liars, the thief, the killer, the murderer. It's all
mm-hmm,
in our hearts. You know,
mm,
fornication, lust, adultery. I can be a priest, but looking at a woman, lusting after her, but I don't act upon it, but it's in my heart. So
mm,
adultery is in the heart, murder is in the heart, fornication is in the heart. All those things are in the heart. That's why we need a heart change. Now you can create laws in the society, like I told you about the speed limit. You can create laws in the
mm,
society that will stop me from doing something wrong, but it's all in
yeah,
my heart. So now what
mm,
people need is a change of mind and a change of heart. But by what standard, my brother? Where do
yeah.
you find the
That's the
standard
question.
from? In Hollywood?
That's the question. That's
In
the
a
question.
political? Where? That's why a man needs God, because we are fallen, brother. All the life
Mm,
coaches have another life coach. All the counselors have another counselor above them to counsel them.
Hmm.
That's how the society works.
Yeah,
And
because
then before,
I bring that up because you will find that because you mentioned about God, you mentioned about
yeah,
the role model being Jesus Christ, and because you will find that that's one of the things that I was going to talk about as well. Because we have in our society, same thing in our society, where we have men of God or people
yeah.
with titles, like you mentioned, priests and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
then you find that in that fraternity, in the church fraternity, you find that there is sexual abuse. You start thinking, so what's going on here? Because we were thinking these are the people that are preaching the principles of
Absolutely.
life that are supposed to be adhered to. Be kind, be loving. Be have have time for others. So how do you end up with a man of God or a priest or someone who's a leader, who's in a leadership position, and they're in church, and then they're
Yes, and messing
abusive.
about with children, messing about with people's
Mm.
wife, and
Yeah,
even
yeah.
abdicating.
How does that happen, then?
Very good question. That's
Because
why I
that
come
actually
back.
disqualifies. So when you say, oh, people need to learn from the Bible, that actually disqualifies. When someone hears that a priest has raped someone, it's like,
Absolutely.
so why should I believe in the Bible? Why should I believe in what you're saying when you do this?
And to everybody who will be watching these videos, here is a
Yeah,
disclaimer.
yeah,
Even in churches, there's a lot of mess. I need to reassure them that
yeah,
we're not talking perfection. We're talking about becoming.
yeah.
In the
Becoming, yeah, yeah, yeah,
in the process
yeah.
of becoming, we
Men,
begin to
yeah.
distinguish the wrong from the right.
Hmm.
So I cannot hide behind Christianity. No, everything has to be exposed. That's what I say. Except man has a heart change, the pastor
Hmm.
can be lusting. A lot of them have been messing about with young children and everything because
Hmm.
a man is sinful by nature. I give this example.
Mm. Hmm.
You never teach a child. You have children. You
Hmm.
never teach a child how to do
Hmm.
anything wrong. They
Hmm.
do wrong by nature. All your
All right.
life, you're teaching children to do right.
Yeah.
You want to you want to teach them to say yes, but they say no by nature.
Hmm.
Now, children become teenagers, and teenagers become men and women of tomorrow.
Hmm.
Now, so that's what I say. Absolutely right. I'm not saying the church is perfect. We're talking about in my capacity, I am
Hmm.
able to see the potential in everybody now, so that when I put the love and humility as a standard, what happened
Hmm.
now? I see value in people that I didn't see before. As so now I see people not as object to use for sex, to lie,
Hmm.
to create all of this. No, that's not what I see anymore. I see
Hmm.
potential in everybody, and guess what I want to do? I want to
Hmm.
love the people, because remember our royal law that we said before: love your
Yeah.
neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
So how much do I love myself? I have to do that to my neighbor. And who's my neighbor? Anybody who's near me, apart from me, outside of me, my
Hmm.
enemies, everybody.
Hmm.
In fact, Jesus Christ says, love your enemies. If your enemy is
Hmm.
hungry, feed him. If your enemy is
Hmm.
thirsty, give him a drink. So for me, man, my brother,
Yeah.
we need to really establish this.
Yeah.
Man of God, a general manager in the world, a
Hmm.
president, a prime minister,
Hmm.
we all need a change of heart. We all need to meet our creator, who will tell us what plan he has for us. You
Hmm.
cannot know the purpose of your life except you meet the person who created you, who can tell you that whom he
Okay.
foreknew, he also predestined to become
Hmm. Hmm.
children of God. That's
That's
word for
very
word.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
because
very interesting.
it's like people who make a Ferrari, you need to see the manual so you can see the purpose of the power in the Ferrari, so you know how to
Hmm.
use it and manage it. So I
Mm.
believe every man of God, woman of God, children of God, all types in the world, superstars. The bottom line is that we need to respect and love each other. Now, for us to achieve that, we have to have a change of mind that result in a change of actions. You can't have it the other side. A change of mind where you value people, where you respect people, where you love people, but the standard is not the standard of the society. The standard, you find the standard from God himself, who is the standard bearer.
So we've now we talked about, because there's something that you mentioned there that really caught my attention. So you're not talking about change of heart.
Yeah.
One thing that you mentioned was you mentioned so much about love. So from what you're saying, it sounds like love is the answer. Because you said if you don't love, you end up doing bad things.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have love, you end up doing bad things. So I want us to
how many songs you hear about love?
A lot. A whole
Now,
lot.
The love that people sing about, how can you give love if you don't know what the standard of love is? Now, what you'll have in those songs is what you call selective love. I love you because you done something to me, something nice. So it's that selective integrity, selective love, where you scratch my back, I scratch your back. That's not true love. And then that love turn into lust, and then it turn into anger and division when you're not consistent in doing those things that makes the other person love you. So it's a conditional kind of love. Go ahead.
Yeah. Wow. So I want us to conclude this now, because I know like there's a whole lot of things that you.
I know that was part one.
I know that was part one, but I'm really glad that you mentioned a whole lot of very, very important things. And I want to, obviously, for anyone and everyone who's watching, we're talking about becoming men. I run a platform called Becoming Men.
Yes.
And the reason why I do this is to be able to, talk about issues that affect men.
Yes.
And what is being a man. And from what I've come to understand personally, on a personal level, is that becoming men is a craft. It's something that you actually have to work on. It's like an ongoing process. You just don't wake up and become a man. I think it's something that you have to consciously or actively, say, I am working on this. Because I always give this example. For you to fly a plane, you have to be qualified to fly a plane.
Yes.
So when you end up being a male, you have to have the know-how, of how to be a man. And then we are talking about, Joseph here is bringing this whole idea of there is nowhere else where we can get this kind of information unless we go to the creator or unless we go to the manual. And I really like that, because you will find that in our society, what we have a lot of issues with, regarding to men. The number of rapes and the number of people that are in prison are actually men. The number of suicides is actually men. That's just crazy.
I
want to know what do you think is the reason here? Because women are strong, very, very strong. They do a lot of things. They're able to raise kids. They're able to provide for the kids. They're able to. In so many situations, you have women that are actually the father and the mother, and they're doing everything. But then, on a bigger picture, it's actually most men that are in prison. It's actually most men that actually end up, with killing themselves and stuff. Why do you think that is? Why do you think, and even in mental health wise, the number of of people that actually end up with mental health issues is men. And if you really think of it like on a global scale, men actually die early than women. There's a lot of widows. Yeah. So why do you think that is? Because that sounds like it's tragic.
It's a bigger issue than that. It's a bigger issue. What you see, unfortunately, even in society, that's why I think this is like part one.
Yeah.
You're talking about a symptom, but we need to go back to the root.
Yeah.
You see? And what happened is men without role models, they are lost because they are put
Ah,
under pressure. Men without role model, that they can't see a role model, so they have to make it up as they go. Now, as
ah,
we make things up as we go, guess what happened? We
mm,
have selectivity now. We have selective integrity. We have
mhm.
we're a bunch of hypocrites. We act out what we are not.
Ah,
So
like
what we do,
pretenses.
we pretend and we try and
Mm.
be, because we have to fulfill this kind of self thing whereby a man is supposed to be strong. A man is
Because
supposed to,
there's so much expectation,
so much
placed on it.
expectation on a man.
Mm,
And now,
mm,
instead of admitting that he can't fulfill it, he
and
pretends.
learning. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and in the pretense, he begin to make mistakes. Now, I want to tell all my men, even and women, like I said before, you may have
Mhm.
made many mistakes. You are not your creator's mistake. You are not God's mistake. You just need to find him, because why? He will change your heart. Because the problem in the world is
Mm,
lack of love. The lack of
mm,
love is not the human love, it's the unconditional love.
mhm, mhm.
The lack of love makes the create the fact that we don't respect each other. Now, when you don't respect people, you don't value them. Look how it goes down.
Mhm,
Love is the highest.
mhm,
Now, love brings respect, value. Now, if you
mhm,
don't value somebody, what happened? You will treat them anyhow.
mhm,
So you don't care.
mhm.
Everyone for their own. Now that becomes challenging. You experience it at work. Somebody will trick you in order for you to be sacked so you can get your position.
So I'm getting what I'm getting here is what. So you're saying that. So most of the time, as a human race, we tend to look for love from without. We don't look for love from within. We look at
Yes.
we're looking for love from probably other people or other things, but we don't realize that we're supposed to look for love.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt
Come
you.
on, come on.
When I say, because I know when people watch a video, I think, oh yeah, love, love, love.
Mm,
This is a result of that. Put it this way.
mhm,
When I talk about love, I talk about belonging.
mhm,
It's a context of relationship.
mhm,
Now, it's only in that context that people feel they are valued, when people feel they are loved, when people feel they are worth it. So you bring worth and value to people, then
yeah.
their mind change about you and about themselves. Do you see how it
Wow,
works? Then all of a
that's
sudden,
interesting.
they don't see the other person as the enemy. They see the other person as a potential life enhancer. You
Yeah,
see? Now
yeah.
we begin to enhance each other, like, rather than tearing everybody down.
Mm,
We begin to, I don't see the other person as a competition. I see them as a complement to me.
wow.
I need you, you need me.
Mhm,
That's a
mhm.
context of love. It's not weakness. Yes, I
Yeah.
thank God for this. It's not weakness, it's power under control.
Mm,
I have
okay.
so much power, I have so much love that I can love you and not worry about what, even if you don't love me back, even if you don't do
Yeah.
anything back. I have so much confidence, because love, belonging, worth bring confidence in myself. So I am confident in who I am. No matter what you say, I know who I am. Now that
Mhm.
makes you be steady.
Wow, that's very interesting. So
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do here, because I mean we're running out of time now. What I'm
Yes.
gonna do now is, I mean, obviously we've mentioned a lot of things, but then also to recap in case people don't understand where we're coming from. We're talking about men here. We're talking about some very very important things. Why we should not have men in society, whether they're from a Christian background, whether they're from any other religion, or whether they're from you know different point of view and stuff like that. Why we
Yes.
should not have in society people that are contaminating our earth
Yes.
or humanity. So before we conclude, I just want you with it, like for you to just sum up and say just one thing that you think is very important for all the men out there that are listening, or anyone else that's listening.
Mhm.
One thing that is very, very, what that you think is key, because you mentioned uh,
A lot of things.
predominantly about love. Yeah, yeah, a lot of things. But I just want you to pick up one thing that you can, you know, solely say, this thing is the way to go.
Yeah, to all my men, to all my friends, to
Hmm.
all of those who are out there, my prayer for you, my wish, we say in the world my wish, but in my context, my prayer for you is to
Yeah.
find who you truly are. You can only
Mm.
function in your true identity.
Hmm.
Once you find your identity, who you are, you will
Yeah.
be able now to make progress in
Mm.
anything you want to achieve, because your
Yeah.
identity brings your
Hmm.
knowledge about your capability. What are you capable of doing is
Hmm.
confined within your identity. Your
Yeah.
identity is not what people say about you. Your
Hmm.
identity is not what society judge you and misjudge you or whatever. Your
Mm.
identity is what in you that you know you are capable of doing.
Mm.
And that now will establish you in your lane. Don't try and be like
Mm.
everybody else. That brings pressure.
Mm.
It brings pressure, unnecessary pressure. You will
Yeah.
make mistake, but
Yeah.
remember you
Mm.
are not God's mistake.
Wow.
Learn from your mistake, find your
Mm.
identity, and in
Hmm.
your identity contain everything about you. Now, all of us, as you move towards
Hmm.
any goal that is set in your life, know
Mm.
this, be established in who you are, love yourself, like you did say that. I love that. But
Hmm.
above all, my wish for all the men to have a
Hmm.
heart change is to find
Hmm.
God who created
Mm.
us.
Wow.
Because
Thank you very much. Hmm.
otherwise, I pray, otherwise we'll have a society where there's no standard. We need to find
Yeah.
a standard that everybody can
Yeah.
look up to, and it's God's
Yeah.
standard. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Joseph. It was really nice to have you on here, and I do appreciate you bringing me on your platform as well. That was really amazing. I know, I mean, I know we've got so much to talk about, and we just have got this compressed, hour.
Bless you,
But
brother.
I think we will probably at some point have a part two. But I really do appreciate you, and those were some great nuggets that you brought up there. That you need to find your identity, and you need to love yourself and appreciate yourself and love yourself for you to be able to love others, and for you to be able to move forward as a man or as an individual. Thank you very much. We'll catch up soon. And thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for your time. We'll catch up another time. Peace.
Thank you. Bye bye, brother.
Thank you. Bye.